All right, here is a quick video on getting started as a re-record mixer for your project. Um, this is definitely not how you should do every project. It's just to get us started with this one. It's at least how I like to get started in some regards, but I'm going to simplify it so that you can try to incorporate your own workflows and make mistakes in this project before you do making any mistakes in the field when it costs you time and money. So let's go ahead and just check this out. So I got a video track up top. It came with 2 dialogue tracks, so we're going to have to investigate that. And it came with a bunch of Foley tracks. But notice how they're all in stereo, so we're definitely going to have to investigate that. 2 music tracks, some ambience, and then some room tone. But that does not look like room tone to me because it has all these transients in there. Also, this ambience looks like it was just thrown in there because look how all the rest of the files extend over here. So that always is just a little bit of a red flag. I'm not too concerned about that just because it's just ambience, and we'll probably end up switching it out for our own. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we should do is check out just our quick little simple signal flow for a re-record mixer. So what you're going to do is you're going to have 3 main stems. You're going to have your dialogue stem, your sound effects or effects stem, and then your music stem. You can abbreviate these with DX, FX, and then MX for music stem. And then incorporated or inside all of those would be their like tracks. So all the dialogue tracks are routed to the dialogue stem. The Foley, sound effects, and backgrounds and such get routed to the effects stem, and then all the music gets routed to the music stem. And then what we like to do is we like to take the effects stem and the music stem and then send them to their own aux track or audio track, depending on how you want to set stuff up, their own subgroup for the M and E signal flow portion. So what this is music and effects. So then that way, when we're delivering our final sound or files to the video editors to put into the high quality video, we're just going to be giving them a dialogue stem and then a music and effects stem. That way, if they're receiving any dialogue stems from, say, any other different languages, so maybe they're doing it in Spanish or whatever, then they'll just take out this dialogue stem, replace it with the other overdub, but then they'll keep the music and effects. And then we send both of those to the print master or just the mix, depending on how you verbalize that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I like to do is I like to just start by separating all of these out, but it's a lot easier to do that and not have to move them twice if I were to just get my actual signal flow going. So when I'm going to do that over here, I'm at the very bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and create, well, how many characters do I have? I believe there's 4 characters. So I'm going to go ahead and Command-Shift-N. I'm going to get 4 new mono tracks, audio tracks. I'm going to call these ones dialogue as in, or dia as in dialogue. When I create them, see how it gives me dia 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and make myself a new stereo audio track and call this one just capital DX. Notice I'm doing an audio track as opposed to an aux track. That will become clear in just a bit. Excellent. Now I'm going to take all of these dialogues. I'm holding Option and then Shift, clicking on the output and routing them to that dialogue track right here. Might as well color them. Now let's do the same thing with, how about our sound effects? So I'll get 1 mono, 1 stereo, and then, we might as well add in the additional stereo routing. So we'll call this one sound effects. And then we'll call this one sound effects. And then, or what, let's just do mono and Foley. We'll keep them the same. So let's do another one called Foley. That's our mono. And then a stereo Foley as well. So we have mono and stereo sound effects, mono and stereo Foley, and then just add 1 FX subgroup. And we're going to keep that as an audio track. Great, so they're all routed there, nice and easily. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab these, Option Shift, and route them to the effects track. go ahead and color them while I'm here. Make those red. Then we got to do the same for the music. So I'm going to get 2 stereo audio tracks and then 1 stereo audio track. I could have just done 3, whatever. I'll call this one MX for music, but then I'll call my other ones just music tracks. So then I have music track 1, music track 2, because it auto-named it. Let's go ahead and rename or recolor this. How about blue? Excellent. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, right, is if I want all this dialogue to be heard out of this track right here, I need to solo safe it. So I'm going to solo safe all of my subgroups by hitting Command and then S, or Command and then clicking on the S for solo. Now what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put my effects one right next to the music and then the dialogue right next to that. So then I have all 3 of these together really quickly. So I can do all this editing stuff I need to here, and then I have my masters right here. Let's stay on this screen. I'm going to go ahead and make another one called print. So I made another audio track. I'm sorry, not print. Stereo audio track. We're going to call this one M and E for music and effects. And then I take my music and effects and I send them to the M&E track. Excellent. And now we do the same thing for a print track. So I made a new stereo audio track, call it print, and then I'm going to route my dialogue to the print track, and then these are already routed to my M&E track, so then I'm going to route my M&E track to my print track. Great. Now I just got, of course, need to solo safe these. Now that I have all that done, I'm going to go ahead and put all of these in input mode. I just highlighted them and then hit Shift I for input. That will allow all the audio that's placed on any of these tracks to go through here, right? As an aux track, you don't need to do that, but later on down the road, rather than just let it pass through, I can actually record that information in, which is a really nice thing to have. So it's better to get that set up now just in case it's needed later. All right. Now we just kind of go through it slowly but surely. So I have all my dialogue here. I'm going to go ahead and grab these 2 dialogue tracks, bring them down right on top of these ones. I'm going to go ahead and mute all this fun stuff. We don't need any of that. And we're just going to deal with these ones right here. So I'm going to separate them out onto their own kind of tracks. All right. So
this is my story.
I kind of know it just in general. I already know what's what. So we're going to go real quickly through this and kind of bounce around.
My biological extract only solid. Auburn here, I 5 thoughts unknown.
Excellent. Okay, so I believe this guy's name is Gene. We can confirm that by looking at the video. Gene. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop that up. No, I'm not going to chop it up there. That's silly. How about we just grab this, Command C, and then I can just use semicolon to go down, Command V. Cool. Now that's done. We'll leave that. Notice how I'm leaving that be. Then we come over here, check out the rest of our dialogue.
Has anyone heard a similar account of alien abduction?
Excellent. You know what, though? I'm kind of feeling like I want this dialogue track to be a voiceover instead of dialogue. So I'm going to make a new audio track, call it VO. We'll go ahead and put this up on there. I'm holding control as, oops, daisy. I'm holding control as I do this so that it doesn't move position. And let's go ahead and route this appropriately. So make sure I change the color to be correct and then route it to the dialogue. Great. Alternately, I could have, to save time, I could have just right-clicked on dialogue and said duplicate and then just change the name of it, but that's okay. All right, so now this one right here, actually, I kind of want that one to be Command C on dialogue 1. Let's check out the rest of it.
This reminds me of
Oh, there's Audrey. So let's go ahead and see where he talks.
I don't know why.
How did that?
Excellent. So from right there to right there. Command C, Command V. Cool. And this guy, Ronald, we'll put him on this track.
Well, they put...
Keeps on talking. Okay, great. So this guy can go down there. Very nice. Check out this.
That story is not similar. Anyone being abducted?
Oh, okay, great. So,
Woman.
I'm a woman.
is that Gertrude? Okay. Hi, Gertrude. Let's go ahead and just copy this. because that's still Jean, right? So we'll put that on dialogue 1. I could rename these if I wanted to.
I'm a woman.
Not you.
And then the rebuke. So let's go ahead and make sure we get that rebuke on dialogue 1, but then get this on dialogue. What do we say? We'll say her 4 for her. Oh, I mean 3, because we haven't used 4. Or haven't used 3. All right.
You said large take you in large expansive areas.
Because they had a big ship.
Cool. I can definitely feel little hiccups there, so that's going to be fun to edit. Copy that. Put that back on the dialogue 2 track, right? Nope.
Took my entire body apart.
Oh, see, we already screwed up. So this one actually needs, that's why I was confused.
They
That story is not. Has anyone been? Not you.
Cool.
Woman.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
You said large.
Copy this, put it down onto dialogue 3. That's where Audrey was living.
Because they had a big ship.
Okay, that section. Let's go ahead and copy that onto dialogue 1. Now, I'm not really worried too much about the gaps. See how there's gaps in between these? It's because, like, I mean, normally if everything was on one track, you'd have the same noise floor for everything. And so you kind of want to keep it consistent. But these ones, it cuts in and out, and I can just tell. So I don't really care. I'm going to have to put in my own ambience at the very end, so I'm kind of doing it freely. But if I were to do it, I could go like this. Onto my grid mode. Make sure that I'm on time code. And then I'll make my bar be on, how about 1 frame?
Well, let's give it up for Jean. It's not easy being the newcomer.
Cool. So I can go ahead and grab those, hit B to separate, put that down to dialogue 2, and now look, I have the exact moment. So I'll just keep that for the next section.
Jean, tacos at Al Jefe's. You in?
Oh, that's Audrey again.
But it's Taco Tuesday.
We're going to put that actually on its own dialogue track because it's outdoors. It's a little different. So I'll right click on this dialogue track, say duplicate. I'm not duplicating the active playlist. And now I can just paste it on there. We'll call this one just dialogue 5 while I'm at it. Cool. All right. Great. So now notice how all of my dialogue is still there. I haven't really messed with it too. I mean, I've made little separations. But now I can just highlight those, right click, and say hide and make inactive. So I can always go back to them if I need them. But we have everything routed appropriately. All right, now let's go ahead and do the same thing for ambience. I'm going to take that ambience, copy it, move it on down to, we'll go on sound effect 2 right there. And then I come over here, right click, hide and make inactive. And we got the music. So let's go ahead and do music. What is this actually? I don't know what this is. Oh, look, they actually put all the music in one. Yeah, okay, so copy that. Paste it down to there. In fact, actually, these are different music tracks. So I'm going to do that. Cool. How to make that inactive. This is just the cam audio. How to make that inactive. Now we've got all these Foley tracks. This is where it gets kind of funny because all of this Foley, they're all stereo files, but if you investigate them and like zoom in and really look at it, you can see that it's exactly the same in the right and left channels. So it's not really truly stereo. It's just, it was exported as stereo. Because I might want control over it in mono, so for panning to make it easier, I'm going to right click Foley and I'm going to say split into mono. Cool. Now I've got the left and the right separately. So then I'm just going to go ahead and take this Foley track and let's go ahead and throw it on to Foley number 1. Mono. Great. Now I'm just going to take all these, delete these because we don't want them again. And then hide and inactivate this one. And then we can do the same thing for all of these, okay? So let's just pretend like we did. I'm going to cheat it a little bit. I'm actually going to, when I hold control and go down, I can kind of copy and paste it a little bit, like on that Foley stereo one right there. Oh, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just keep it. Oh, I didn't option drag it. Okay. But whatever, for time's sake, we're going to ignore that all of this is there. So let's just go ahead and hide and inactivate all of these for time's sake. And then we have this room tone. I'm going to just keep that so we can work with it later, perhaps. We don't need this. All right, great. Now, there is one other thing that I'm kind of missing out on right now, and that's our production sound effects. So under our sound effects, I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to duplicate this mono track. I'm not doing active playlist, and I'm going to call this PFX. That stands for production sound effects. What this is this is all the sound effects, quote unquote, that will be in the dialogue track. So that if they were to cut all of the dialogue, we wouldn't be missing any of the sounds. So let's find a good one. A good one might be that door slam right at the very end, right there. Oh, there is no door slam, so they didn't even record that. So it's going to have to be something in the conversation.
Has anyone heard a similar?
This reminds me of a green.
How did that make you feel?
Hole again?
That story is not similar to.
I'm a woman.
Not.
Ooh. You know what? We're going to pretend right now. We're going to pretend that this Foley sound was actually found in the dialogue. So let's pretend like it's right here, right? Right? So if it's in the dialogue, let's just bake it in there real quick, just so we can visually see what's going on. So this sound effect is now, let's pretend like this was recorded by the camera, right? We can't just leave that in the dialogue, because if we do, then, well, we're EQing it, we're processing it differently, and it's not splitting up our sound effects and dialogue. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to go ahead and Command C that, and then go down to PFX, paste it. I can just go ahead and delete that. Now it's still there, but it's under the PFX track, which is routed to our effects track, right? Or effects subgroup. So now this will be included in the sound effects stem, not the dialogue stem. After I've done all of that and separated everything, I can now begin to worry about my noise floors and such. For example, moving from, if I'm just going to solo these ones, moving from here to here, there's no dialogue. And notice how there's a gap, right? So this we're probably going to hear some sound cut out.
Anyone heard a similar account of alien abduction?
See what I mean? How it just completely cuts out, so who cares that all this is blank? Yeah, there's nothing there.
This reminds me of a.
So then at that point, that's where I would be doing my background. So, I mean, real quickly, let's just go ahead and throw in, night ambience, interior. Nope. Let's just do this one, just because we can. All right. So let's go ahead and find our effects area. It's probably better than this night ambience, actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete it. We don't need it. I don't like that effects. And then we'll go ahead and take that. Cool. There it is. Now I can duplicate that across my ambience, but clearly that's not going to be a great idea. So maybe I should actually just overlap it and then do a nice little fade. Yeah, I can't even tell. Right? Now that can be used to help cover up any little issues. For example, it'll cover up this gap, or the gap we were just trying to figure out.
Has anyone heard a similar account of alien abduction?
This reminds
You can see how it came in right there, right? So I'm gonna have to really treat it nicely.
me of a
Yeah, there we go. Say, notice how before you could just hear it jump in.
this reminds
I'm gonna go ahead and just kill that. Do a nice little fade in.
this reminds me of a
Very nice. And if we were to cover more fully for this character, maybe as he's raising his hand, some cloth movement and such, because I don't think there is any. No, there's not. So we could use that to really help sell it. But just a little bit of editing, separating them out by character, that can help. Depends on the project. Oh yeah, cleaning that up.
I don't know why.
See how you hear all that background hiss and then it cuts out?
I don't know why.
That's even before. If I elongate it.
I don't know why.
So the video editor, when they did something to it, look at, you can tell they just chopped it off like right there. So we're gonna have to really be careful with that.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah, so that kind of worked, right? So you can go through, you can clean that up a little bit. But sometimes all this blank space, this is your friend because it might have some subtle tones in there to make it seem a little bit more realistic. But this is just a brief overview of how to organize your session. I hope it was helpful. At the very end, when you're done, rather than keep all of these in input, switch them from input to record. And now it'll actually record all the dialogue onto this stem, all the effects on this one, all the music on this one, all the M&E together, music and effects on this one, and then all of it together on that one. See the hear the crickets? You can definitely hear the crickets are going there. So if we were wise, we would turn that way down during the mix. It's also the wrong file because it sounds irritating.
This is my story. During a routine maintenance survey at approximately 1700, I was abducted by extraterrestrial forces. Since my initial abduction, I've been...
All right, we made a mistake though, because look at our music tracks. Guess what? They are not routed appropriately, so we need to route these to our music. MX. Let's try it again so we can see.
This is my story. During a routine maintenance survey at approximately 1700,
Great. So you can see. Wow, I'm great at this, huh? All right, you can see that my dialogue is completely on its own here. The effects are, well, they're there. It's just that the chirp, right? The effects are separate, and then the music is separate, but then it took the music and the effects and put them all into the M&E, and then it took everything. It didn't double this up, though. It put everything else into the print track. So then this is what I could give my video editors. I hope it was helpful.